Welcome back, everybody, to The Creative Moment, Season 11, Episode 2, as we embark on our journey post-Episode 100. Other people call it Episode 102, but Dante Bullhauer, Jamie Bullhauer, your host, as always, and let's just hop right into it. Today, we're talking about how other forms of creativity, other mediums of art can help us, maybe hurt us, I don't know, but how they affect our creative thinking, creative projects. Obviously being like a videographer in some spots, music just comes to mind immediately because I use that for a lot of my videos. So just kind of how other creative mediums and other art forms interact with our creative life in our specific ways.
Yeah. Part of it comes from some recent articles about artists and stuff, and how their influence, one of them was an animation artist who used a little bit of history of music and theater and stuff like that to help improve his paintings and his digital art, and stuff like that. So some of that is, I think, the way creatives do, though, also enjoy other mediums. I think real creatives, like, they have their area, but I think they can enjoy and get stuff out of other mediums and understand it maybe, or with a different perspective. And right off, also top of my head as we were getting started, Langston Hughes is also known as a jazz poet, meaning his rhythm and things within his poetry can reflect well for blues and jazz, and has this cool tempo and other things. And even subject matter, the Weary Blues, a famous poem by him. And so, just like other mediums and things like that can work in our favor if we're cognitive of doing that while we're, actually producing or thinking, in that regard.
Yeah, I kind of think it boils down to like how I consume other, even photography and videography, but how I consume other forms of art is like the emotion that it evokes. So like when I listen to music, unless it's just like on a drive and I'm not really like paying attention, it feels like the reason I will like a song is because of the emotion that it evokes. And like I'm always looking for songs to put on like travel videos or just hype videos, whatever. And the one thing that always sticks is the emotion that I feel. It's not always about the lyrics. It's more about just kind of what I feel when I listen to this type of beat or these types of instruments or something. And the same thing kind of, I don't look at like paintings very much. But when I do, I try and draw an emotion out of it, which is kind of why I hate, that painting where it's just like the white blocks and there's a couple red blocks, blue blocks, whatever. There's no emotion in that painting to me, so I don't I think it's bad, but it's super famous or whatever. And so the emotion, if I can feel, and we talk about this a lot, if I can feel an emotion from consuming your art, that's where I feel like it is good art. It's a good form of creativity or art because I can actually take an emotion away from it, and that usually helps me if I can find the right song for a video that creates the same emotion that I want to convey. It fits together a lot better. And a lot of times, like especially with hype videos, I don't like to reuse songs. I do sometimes, but it's hard to I don't know how to describe, but it just clicks when I find the right emotional song for what I want to convey in a hype video, a travel video, whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's all. I think that's a reflection of that magical trait of writing and from the classroom and stuff about voice or tone. Like you can't, I can't make a worksheet to really help with that. If you remember back in the day, some of the creative things that we would do, and every good piece of art has a vibe, a tone, or the artist's voice in it. And you actually, though, if you really think, especially your video work, you kind of work in 3 mediums. Even though it is video, I get that, but it's still kind of the shot. It's not about just filming the game and then cutting it up. It's like you know enough about the game when to really hit record when you're looking for that, and then creating, or not creating the music, but finding the music to involve, and then on top of it, you throw in the graphics that you actually do for the tournament and stuff like that. Like you're kind of like deep in a lot of different factors or expression of art. As a writer, well, I did write a song. And so coming soon. Except I gotta sing it. So anyway, but in dealing with that, working with the composer, she took. It was kind of interesting. It's kind of that mix. So I said, "Here's my lyrics. Here's the idea I have in my head," because I'm not musical. I am learning to play, but I can't learn piano fast enough to write a song musically. I said, okay, I thought it was like piano. I thought it was kind of slow, kind of the heartbreak. And then she took my lyrics and my ideas and came up with the music. And I thought the music worked. But after we did work on it, so I came back in and I edited a few things. I kind of, because then I had the outline, or at least I understood what I was thinking I heard in my head actually out in the world. And that allowed me to fix like the syllable aspect, the bridge or pre-chorus. And so getting somebody to actually compose something just based off of my words, but then my words being affected by actually hearing the music, like, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. I'm excited, except for recording my voice singing this thing. I think it's kind of cool, and it's just one of those processes of the mediums working together. Because, like, I don't know. It's an interesting.
Yeah, aspect. I mean, it still kind of connects the thread of the emotion being evoked. That's along with the words. She's trying to relay an emotional composition with your words where they both fit the same kind of theme, and trying to make those work together, whether it's a heartbreak song or what, like,
it is, but
trying to connect.
No happy endings for me,
right? Like a bass guitar wouldn't sound as correct, it wouldn't, to the same even notes or whatever as maybe a piano or whatever. So
because we don't get to see art around here just because we don't have, or there's small types of things. But what do you think if like we went to the museum in Omaha, like what could you learn from classical paintings or other stuff like that? I learn a lot about color. Color science is something I kind of study a lot of, just because I want to get better at like video color grading. And like painters, or like those physical forms of art, I feel like they understand color science in a unique way in how they build their paintings, how they like what colors they put in, where they can actually, what I'm saying, like they are hands-on per se, and they visually can mix it at that moment,
right? And so color is a big one. The other thing is just I don't study paintings or whatever, so like when I talk about emotion, like when I look at it, what do I feel? Even if I can't understand the message it's portraying or what like the screen painting, it's kind of, just a face, but it's a little like eerie and off-putting, and that's partially because of like the face that's in it, but also because of the wavy lines instead of having like hard horizons or hard like kind of barriers in the photo. It's more wavy and just feels a little slightly like off-putting. I try and study the way it makes me feel versus what like it actually is, and maybe I interpret it wrong, if that's even possible. I like just taking the emotion from that and then studying like what is making me feel the off-putting part, what's making me feel sad about this painting, what's making me feel happy or whatever, and then taking whatever those themes are, whether it's the color or the smoothness of the paint strokes or whatever, and trying to apply them, whether it's like a graphic or something or a photo, understanding that and trying to put it into my own art through like my medium.
Yeah. And it's not like I don't think anybody you have to become even proficient in a full other medium, per se. But as thinking of composition, and we have actually, when you were little, we actually went to the museum.
The Jocelyn.
Yeah, Jocelyn. But I would just say we haven't ventured, but again, our environment doesn't have a lot of that opportunity. But thinking of Mom's got one of her reproductions of the park, like it's right by in the hallway, and stuff. And the different techniques can actually be seen in color. I hadn't actually thought about that, but yeah, painters and maybe colored pencil artists and stuff, the way they can manipulate color on the fly, like just with like JC or something, and physically see the change and understand if it's going to work or if they need, like, that's got to be actually some deep, just ingrained, not talent per se, because artists still take, but yet still just that vibe of that. And yeah, I was just kind of thinking when you mentioned color, how, because in my world I have to
black and white.
I have to describe it. I have to figure out words. I have to figure out similes. I have to, but to visually to kind of see that aspect. So how do you know? Like, we're an organic podcast. So when do you know to go black and white versus color?
Again, I feel like a lot of creatives are probably this way. It kind of just hits me where I'm like, this would be more powerful without color. And I've been a very colorful person since junior high, when I would wear bright orange on bright orange socks and go to school and think that rocks. It did not rock. It was, but I've always been like very colorful. Like, I love color. And so it's hard for me to go to like black and white or whatever. But there are times when I feel like black and white creates a more personal feel towards everything. One, if it's like too busy, there's too many colors. Like the one Osceola photo, whatever, it was yellow on the ceiling, the bleachers were blue, they were a black and orange team, you have the skin tone, like, just a lot going on. So if I cropped into that photo quite a bit where it was just like kind of here up.
Okay, yep.
And so it felt like to be that personal and to crop that close in, all that color was kind of distracting from the personal feel to it. So I'm like, this would look cooler or create more of an emotion in black and white. I think specifically in like photography and videography, it creates a little more timeless feel to things where it's not like it just doesn't feel like it has a certain like date to it. Like, oh, that's a modern video, or that's a old, like, if it's just black and white, it just kind of feels that timeless type of piece. A lot of it's just when you're in the flow state and it's like, oh, it's just a feel. Like, just like when I hear a song, I'm like, that's it. And I don't, in the moment, I can't exactly articulate it. But then when I see like the video come together or the photo after I like put the black and white kind of edits on it, it just kind of like hits. I'm like, yeah, that's what I wanted it to feel like, look like.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
No, I get that happens sometimes with like a poetic form. Like the idea, like, oh, this is the form. And sometimes it takes me a long time. I'll work with it, and it's just like this.
Sometimes it takes longer than the actual execution of the words. It's what form do I want to use to...
And that's I think we've talked about that, trusting your inner voice and other stuff, and I think that does take a little time. But I think appreciating, and even if it like film, I've just because of my algorithm on my Instagram and stuff, it's got a lot of film, it's got a lot of stuff, and Mom and I have been watching some classics and stuff, and so I get a little bit of for Citizen Kane, supposedly one of the best shots is when he's a little boy outside and they back up and he's playing in the snow, and they back up, and then you see him still in the window, and you see the mom, and you see what's his name that comes and gets, and they keep going back, but he's still out playing, and it's not like it influences exactly my poetry per se, but the more that you kind of have in the back of your head, and that idea of start specific and come back out. I won't partly because if I want to publish any poems in literary magazines, I cannot publish them in any form or fashion in social media. Anyway, I've got it's not like I totally did that, but it like started out and I expanded kind of the idea, and it's not like a direct link to that, but I've seen the film, I've seen the YouTube video, the Instagram about how the technical part of what they did, and as we watch different classics like City Lights with Charlie Chaplin, and it's just because I'm a creative in my medium, poetry, I know there's refrains, there's the use of this, seeing in some form that kind of expression. Like the ending of City Lights is an incredible ending, and it kind of just up my alley for the type of poetry I write. And maybe that's why I click with it, because I love how that ends. So I think as a creative, I think you should at least, with a little bit of an analytical filter, enjoy other mediums. But it doesn't mean you can't just have some popcorn and enjoy. But
I can't turn it off. When I watch a movie, it's all about the angle or the color grade.
Remember when you came JC's first year?
It struck me there's no wasted shots in the big time movies, and that was at a point where I was just trying to figure out why do I like these movies, shows, whatever. It's because everything has intention. There's no just wasted. And with hype videos, I feel like sometimes you gotta fill space somewhat, and the emotion's pretty set before. I mean, it's just
they're already for the basketball. It's the two top teams already, so you're not telling a new story.
Yeah, so I at that point I was trying to figure out how do I what are they doing that I really enjoy, even subconsciously. I'm everything is intentional about why they're doing what they're doing. There's a reason the show Ozark with Jason Bateman, it's very blue, light yellow, it is very dark and morbid, and because that's the theme of the show and the emotion of the show. You go to, I don't know, Paw Patrol,
It's very like just kind of basic color grading because it's happy, it's bright, it's colorful, whatever. And that was like studying all those like just different pieces of art forms with that lens really just kind of helps you pull that emotional factor or whatever from that art form and put it into yours.
Yeah. And again, you don't have to be I'm not going to be a proficient painter, but I can still appreciate and think about technique. And I know, have learned from you photography, is this painting doing the rule of thirds or not? Is it, and tapping into that. And even with the song that I wrote and stuff like that, the interview, I think I mentioned it a couple episodes ago, with Sting was talking about songwriting and how the bridge is where you change, like you can connect or take the listener. And in the song that I have, it's actually technically a pre-chorus, but it's meant kind of as a bridge of where I turn so that the listener knows why the first two verses are the way they are before you hit the chorus, and it bridges that. And I don't think I could have really done that without, because I love listening to the backstories of songs. Like I love listening to artists talk about how they came up with this. And,
I do that a lot more now than I used to.
Like when iTunes did their original series, they would always be talking to the artists. Like I have Tears for Fears iTunes original, and like their conversation about their songs and about them coming back together and creating Tears for Fears vibe. Like it's just like, how, it's just, I think you should a little bit learn, or at least appreciate, or have your filter on when you're dealing with other media, because you don't know where down the road you might be inspired or can use the technique or something like that to enhance your own expression.
Yeah. Well, that was a pretty good organic conversation. I mean, we do this pretty off the cuff most of the time. So yeah, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have other mediums of art that you want to show that aren't podcasting, drop it in the YouTube replies or DM us or whatever on social media. As always, thank you for watching, listening, supporting. We're on YouTube with a video version. Spotify also supports video, but you can listen on Spotify, Apple, all the podcast players. And yeah, thank you again for your support. This was The Creative Moment, Season 11, Episode 2, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.